I am 73 years old and I am about to say something that may be uncomfortable to hear. Most of what you've been taught about aging is wrong, not just incomplete wrong. And what makes that hard to accept is that the people who were supposed to explain this to you, parents, teachers, mentors, society itself, weren't trying to mislead you. They simply passed along what they were taught. Assumptions mistaken for truth. Habits mistaken for wisdom. For the first half century of my life, I believed every one of those ideas. I was convinced I had it figured out. I followed the path that was laid out for me. I worked hard, played by the rules, delayed gratification. I built a career people respected. I bought the house you were supposed to buy. I collected the markers of success that signal to the world that you were doing well. From the outside, my life looked complete. Inside, I did question it. Why would I? Everyone around me was running the same race, chasing the same finish line. Doubt felt unnecessary, almost irresponsible. Then at 52, something happened that shattered that certainty completely. What I've learned in the 21 years since has reshaped how I understand living, dying, and everything in between. Before I explain what happened, you need to know why I'm telling you this. I'm not sharing it to sound profound. I am not looking for admiration or sympathy. I am sharing it because my time is finite. And there are things you deserve to hear before life quietly closes certain doors. Not too late for me, too late for you. At 52, I experienced what doctors politely call a cardiac event. That phrase is meant to soften the truth. In plain language, my heart nearly stopped doing its job. I was sitting in a conference room mid-sentence discussing forecasts and quarterly numbers. Nothing dramatic. No warning. Just another meeting in a long line of meetings that all blurred together. Then the room tilted. Sounds stretched and distorted. Faces lost their shape. I remember thinking that. Odd. The next thing I knew, I was staring at a hospital ceiling connected to machines, with my wife standing beside, the bed silent, pale, trying not to cry. The doctor told me I was fortunate. Fortunate. I had just brushed up against death, and they framed it as luck. At the time, that word felt absurd, almost insulting, but lying there afterward, stripped of distraction, stripped of routine, stripped of certainty, I began to understand what he meant. Because in that stillness, something terrifying became clear. I hadn't really been living. I had been functioning, performing, managing, achieving. I was moving efficiently through a life designed by habit and expectation, not intention. I was on autopilot, mistaking motion for meaning. And a question kept returning louder each time. If I had died that day, what would have remained? A well-furnished house someone else would eventually live in. Savings that would be divided and spent. Titles that sounded impressive in introductions but would fade from memory within a few short years. None of it felt solid. None of it felt permanent. None of it felt like, here as the most dangerous story people tell themselves. They got plenty of time, Doc. I'll start living later. I'll take that risk someday. I'll slow down when things settle. I'll focus on what matters. After this phase, I hear this from people in their 20s, from people in their 30s, from people in their 40s who are already tired. Once I earn more, I'll relax. Once I get promoted, I'll breathe. Once the kids are grown, I'll explore. Once I retire, I'll finally become myself. Let me save you decades of quiet disappointment. That moment never arrives. Because the finish line keeps moving. You reach one goal and another appears. You solve one problem and 3 more replace it. Your income grows and so do your expectations. Your responsibilities multiply. The pace accelerates. And without realizing it, you're always preparing to live instead of actually living. Then one day you look back and wonder how the years slipped through your hands so quickly. I know I lived it. I spent decades climbing only to realize far too late that my ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. And time is ruthless about this. It does not offer refunds or second drafts. Here's a truth that rarely gets shared, especially with ambitious people. Achievement by itself is a hollow pursuit. I say that as someone who achieved what I set out to achieve. I reached the top of my profession. I owned the symbols of success. I earned praise and approval, and yet the satisfaction never stayed. A promotion felt good for a week. A big win lasted a few days. Recognition faded almost immediately. Then the hunger returned. The pressure. The need for the next proof that I mattered. A treadmill that never stops. A close friend of mine died at 68. Brilliant man, tireless worker. He built a company worth millions and wore exhaustion like a badge of honor. 70-hour weeks, missed vacations, postponed rest. Always saying, after this quarter, after this deal, after this year. Later never came. He suffered a stroke and was gone within months. At his funeral, his son stood at the podium and said something I still hear clearly. My father accomplished a lot, but I hardly knew him. That sentence landed harder than any eulogy ever could. Is that how you want to be remembered? When you reach the end, your pain won't come from the mistakes you made. Those fade. They soften with time. The real pain comes from the chances you never took. I don't lie awake thinking about failed negotiations or wrong career moves. Those are irrelevant now. What stays with me are the experiences I postponed, the trip I kept delaying, the friendship I let drift, the book I wanted to write but never started. I regret the evenings I chose work over my children. Those absences leave quiet scars. Not dramatic ones. Subtle ones. The missed dinners. The half-listening. The assumption that there would always be another chance to show up fully. You assume the people in your life will always be there. They won. My father died when I was 45. Our relationship was complicated. There were things left unsaid, tensions left unresolved. I kept telling myself I'd address them when life slowed down. Life never slowed down. He was gone within hours. What I regret most, Aaron, to the arguments. The small moments I dismissed, the calls I postponed, the visits I skipped, the ordinary chances to connect that felt unimportant at the time. There isn't always more time. After my heart attack, I changed course. Not overnight, not perfectly, but deliberately I reduced my workload. I stopped saying yes out of obligation. I began declining commitments that drained me. I redirected my energy toward what actually felt alive. And in the last 21 years, I've learned more than I did in the first 52. What truly matters is surprisingly simple, meaningful relationships. Work that aligns with who you are, not just what pays well. Experiences over possessions, memories over milestones, presence over constant distraction. I know how this sounds. I would have rolled my eyes at this once. That is nice, I would have said, but responsibilities don't disappear. And you were right, they don't. I'm not telling you to abandon your obligations. I am telling you not to sacrifice what? As essential for what? As trivial. Ask yourself honestly. If your life ended tomorrow, would you feel at peace with how you've lived so far? Not impressed by your resume. Not validated by others. Just quietly at peace. If the answer is no, what is stopping you? What feels so urgent that you're willing to gamble your only life on it? I am 73 now. My health has been steady since that scare, but every morning I wake up aware that my time is borrowed. So is yours. I have 3 grandchildren. When I watch them, I see the same patterns already forming pressure and anxiety, the early weight of expectation, the endless push toward achievement before they've even had a chance to understand themselves. I try to share what I've learned. They listen politely. They can't fully hear it yet. Not because they don't care, but because perspective arrives only after time has passed. They are still in the storm. That is why I am speaking to you. Every day you are closer to the end than the beginning. No one likes to admit that. But time is not infinite for you or for the people you love. Your parents are aging, one day sooner than you expect they won. Be here. So what will you do? Keep delaying the call. Keep postponing the journey. Keep promising yourself you'll start living later. Or will you decide today to live like your time actually matters? Because it does. If I could speak to my younger self, I would say this. Stop chasing approval from people who want to matter in the end. Stop sacrificing your health for professional success. Stop deferring happiness to an imaginary future. Stop waiting for permission to live honestly. Call your parents more. Take the trips that stir something in you. Do the things that scare you for the right reasons. Say no without guilt. Say yes to what gives your life weight and color. Above all, begin now. Not someday. Not after the next milestone. Not when everything is finally in order. That moment will never come. Life will always be messy, demanding, unfinished. If you wait for perfection, you'll wake up one day and realize you waited your life away. I am 73. If I am lucky, I may have another decade. maybe 2, maybe less, and I am at peace with that. Because these later years when I finally chose to live deliberately have been the richest of my life. I am more content now with less time ahead than I ever was when I believed time was endless. That is the paradox. When you truly understand that time is finite, you stop wasting it. You have a decision to make right now. Continue as you are. Or wake up and choose intention. Dawn, spend half your life learning this lesson. The life you are waiting for starts today. It always has. So what will you do with your time?